Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Destiny, you're changing your background every 5 minutes. Love it. Keep us engaged. Grateful everyone's here. People are trickling in, but I'm a firm believer of just diving in. So I think we'll just get started here. We're grateful that you're here. We have a good webinar planned for today. We've got a little bit of a different format if you've attended some of our recent webinars. This one, we're getting down into the details a little bit and talking through our recent product releases, as well as what we're currently working on from a product development perspective and what we're thinking about bigger picture and how we want to take the product forward. And a big part of this as well will be Q&A. So during the registration, we asked if you had any questions, and we had more than 50 questions come in, and we've built the content of today's webinar to help answer those questions. But I'm sure as we go through the content, more will come up. So please submit those, and we will spend a not insignificant amount of time at the end of the webinar talking through those questions. We're also recording this webinar, so if you want to reference back to anything that was said, we will include the recording in a follow-up email, and we will go ahead and kind of review the agenda now. So we've got some good agenda items today, but also we kind of want you to take this where you're going to find the most value, which is why we have about 30 minutes of content planned, and then we booked an hour though. So we have the last 30 minutes to chat through what's important to you and any questions that you have. But on our agenda, we're going to start off with talking through some recent improvements we've made to the device list. Then we're going to jump into event dependency, which is a feature we're currently building. And for a subset of you attending, there might be an opportunity for joining a beta for that feature that's under development. Then we're going to talk through team management as it exists at Domotz today, as well as how we're evolving into a more sophisticated role-based access control system. And then we're going to, before we jump into your questions, we have kind of a 5,000-foot view of what we're thinking about big picture for the whole rest of this year. And then, like I said, we'll jump into your questions. And we certainly have had a lot of them come in, and we appreciate that. It's very valuable to us, and also to make sure that you're getting the most value and information that's relevant to you out of this webinar. So please keep those coming as well. Why are we doing this? We're doing this for a lot of reasons, selfish and hopefully selfless reasons. One reason we are doing this type of webinar is because we value transparency. We want to keep you all informed. We are making significant investments in our product, and we want to show you what we're working on and how we're evolving the product to better solve your problems. Second reason is a bit more selfless, but I guess it's a two-way street, is we want to make sure that we're building a product that is shaped and addressing the challenges that you're facing. And we have a lot of different types of customers and even prospective customers, hopefully future customers on this call. And we want to make sure that we're building a product that addresses the challenges that you're facing. So we want to hear from you about what are your challenges and how can Domotz help you overcome those. And in pairing some of these releases we're going to talk through today, as well as our roadmap, we also want to share how you can get the most out of Domotz today. So we're pairing each one of the agenda items on the right with best practices on how you can use Domotz related to that aspect of the product today, to hopefully help you see more value in the product and realize more value as well. And the last thing is, this is a two-way conversation. So we don't want to just lecture to you and tell you all what you should be thinking about and what's important. We want to hear from you too. So keep us honest. I also will say that this is our first version of this, and this type of webinar I think is important. Like, we want to be very transparent about how we're building the product, and this webinar is a good medium for us to communicate that to you. However, because this is the first one, and we hopefully will do this maybe quarterly, maybe more, maybe less, depending on the feedback we hear from you, it'd be very valuable if you share what aspects of the webinar that we're delivering today are proving to be most valuable to you, and which parts are there things that we're not talking about that you'd like us to talk about. That type of feedback will help us make sure we're, and future versions of this webinar are going to present what's most important, and make sure that we're using your time the best way possible. All right, you're not just going to hear from me today. I am Jace, though, by the way. Nice to meet you. Director of Product Marketing here, and I'm joined by two much more intelligent people, Destiny and Chris, who are Principal Product Managers, and they're going to be doing most of the heavy lifting today. They're the ones in the weeds with the engineering team building the product. So fire away. Keep that in the back of your mind as you craft some of your questions for Q&A. I'm mostly just going to be emceeing this. But we're going to jump in here in a second. But just kind of one slide I wanted to cover before we jump in is what do we think about when we're building this product? Like, how do we prioritize different functionality? Obviously, your feedback is very important in shaping that. But there are three main things, three things that we are constantly thinking about as we build the product. And the first one is accessibility. And I know that word can mean a bunch of different things, but in this context, there's kind of two sub points to this. One is we've built the product in a way that makes it not so difficult to use. It's got the agentless design. It's easy to evaluate. You can launch a trial and purchase all on your own. It's easy to implement and maintain. And the second subcategory is a price point. We want our product to be very competitive from a price perspective, to help lower the bar to entry for a solution or a monitoring service that technically is often priced at as a luxury, but we view it as foundational. We want to make sure that it's accessible to you in that way. The second is ease of use. We want to make our product easy to use for both the technical individual who wants to dive in and use the open development framework to build scripts and automate processes. We also want it to be intuitive for the non-technical user who wants to just identify when there's an issue and remedy it quickly. And the third kind of guiding principle I'll say at the onset of this presentation is we want to go beyond just basic monitoring and letting you know there's a problem. We want to give you the tools to be able to resolve those issues as you identify them. So I think today's presentation and the different features and functionality we'll talk about that we've recently released, as well as what we're currently developing, speaks to our commitment to these things, but I'll let you keep us honest. And with that, I'll hand it over to Destiny, who's going to jump in to our first recent release, which is the device list.
All right, so if you want to go over to the next slide. So what is the device list? So this is your network snapshot and your command center. So one of the things that I wanted to do is this is actually one of the most powerful and honestly kind of one of the most underrated features in Domotz. The device list is your frontline dashboard. It's your mission critical and your kind of at a glance pulse check on everything that's talking on your network. So quick snapshots of network status. Right when you land on the device list, you're greeted with a quick snapshot of the network health. And hey, this isn't fluff, right? Like we're actually talking about total number of devices, clear breakdowns of online and what is offline, and the immediate situational awareness that tells you, hey, something's a little off here, right? Or, hey, everything is fantastic. I used to call it the green view, right? Like it was one of those things of like, hey, everything's great. I can prove it. Here's how. So this isn't about sifting through logs or manually pinging endpoints or doing anything like that. It's actually a real-time, always-on view that helps you move from reactive to more of a proactive type network management. And so when we're talking about that, you can perform actions, right? Like you can actually perform actions at the edge. So you're able to control the surface of it. You're able to take real meaningful actions right here. And we can walk through kind of like some of those high values, as you can see there to the right. We can configure VLANs. We can actually add some external hosts. We can do things like that. So when we go into the external host, something that I think is valuable that people miss here is like, this is your website, an offsite server. This is an external TCP service, such as like voice over IP or FTP, things like that. It gives you such insight. You're able to actually add these in there and control what you're actually being proactive about and to answer questions to. So this means that we can ping these external IP addresses every 30 seconds. We're giving you a status update. We're allowing you to see your network. And visibility is very key when you're being proactive, because if you don't see it, you're not able to do something about it, right? And so when we go into things like routed subnets, do you need to reach for routed subnet? We got your back. So we can actually run a routed subnet scan. We can go beyond the local segments to discover what's living in other parts of your network topology, which is crucial for MSPs as well, right? Because you guys are managing complex segmented networks and any business is running like VLANs or remote sites. So we're always allowing you to open up doors to be able to monitor additional routing segments and to connect to your main network. Excuse me. But you can monitor up to 8 different layer 3 subnets with private subnet scan. You can specify subnet names, and you can kind of dive into more of that with SNMP sensors, TCPs, services, as well as create remote connections to your devices. So I think those are valuable things that we can actually perform actions on. And then when we start talking about configuring your VLANs, we can actually support those. And right from the device list, as you can kind of see on the screenshot there, you can start to configure those, mapping those out logically to how they actually communicate with them or not communicate with each other. Whether it's you're isolating like an IoT, or if you're securing like guest Wi-Fi's, or even ensuring some compliance. The main thing that we want you to know is you're in control. We're giving you a control panel way of being able to be on top of things proactively and being able to do something. So there's that old line, right? See something, do something. That's what we're allowing you to do, right? Like I see a problem, I need to fix a problem, right? Like I need to do something. I don't need to go to another tool. I don't need to go theoretically looking for that needle in a haystack. I can see there's an issue. I'm going to be able to do something or investigate it. If you have to require a change request or do anything, you're now able to actually have this information so you can make data-driven decisions in your day-to-day life. So when we're also doing configuring your device settings, as you can see over there, we're able to do this at mass. You can go into one, set up these externals, configure your routed networks, configure your VLANs. Maybe I'm wanting to update the SNMP status, or like sensors. I can actually make some changes of what do I want to name these? Am I going to do this as a favorite device? Am I going to want to actually change the device type? Am I trying to do things? This is where you're able to do that. And then you can actually then start applying your shared alerts and using your alert templates. You can do that right from there. And it pushes out to across to 10, 20, 200 devices. You're able to get this information that's going to go across there. We're trying to take out some of that guesswork that we hear about. Chris and I, we love talking with customers. So if you guys want to talk to us, please reach out. We love talking to you because we want to make sure we're solving the problem. When we get in the woods with a lot of buzzwords and a lot of these feature sets, half of the time, I've been in this industry for 20 some years, and it's literally not set up, right? So it's like, how do we get back to the fundamentals of what is the best practices of monitoring? And that's where we're wanting to make sure you're being proactive and not just reactive. So when we're talking about things like alerts, configuring this, make it yours. Make it your customers if you're an MSP. Make sure that you have your OKRs. Make sure you understand what you're being responsible for so you can set that up. I always talk about the 80-90. Me and Jace have talked about this before. It's an industry standard, right? You have to have something that's actually down there for a goal to set. So industry standard says 80 is a warning, 90 is going to be a critical level or a high resolution. But what does that mean if I have a device that's at 30%? Right? Like if it runs at 30% CPU and it jumps up to 50 in like 2 minutes, there's a problem I'm missing, and I'm now being reactive and I'm not being proactive with my monitoring. So some of the things that we're wanting to do is when we're looking at these device lists is just say, wake up. Let's look at the control of which that's going across there. This isn't just a table of MAC addresses. This is your actual network status. This is your dashboard. This is a remediation launchpad, and this is also a configuration management toolkit all in one so that you're able to see it across all of your devices. Again, take out the guesswork, work with your monitoring tool, and be able to bring out that network visibility as well as the control. And if you want to go to the next slide, Jace. So we've just released this improved device list, as you have seen prior in some of the screenshots as well as here. So this is the exciting part, right? Like, because you've heard, we've heard from you all that you've made some major upgrades to Domotz device list, and they're like, well, what does that actually mean? Well, we're solving problems. So at the end of the day, what wasn't working? So let's kind of dive into that. Let's be real, navigating through a growing list of discovered devices and what could these be? And it gets frustrating, right? We had it on different places. You had to go to the inventory. It was kind of clunky, right? Like it was kind of a clunky filtering of which that was going across there, and it wasn't getting you the data that you needed. So that was manually eyeballing devices, and it's filters of which that were going to be within there. So what we've done is we've consolidated some of the problem sets that you guys have actually voiced to us and had concerns on, and we took this in, and now we're starting to actually implement these so that it's solving the problem instead of creating a problem, right? Like what I want to do is make sure that you know where to go, you have a management capability, and we have a solution that's resonating with the problems that you have given us. So we reimagine the device list and the experience from the ground up. And you're going to see us making more investments in this area as we're growing, right? And as we communicate with you all and the problems that you guys are needing, we're definitely incorporating this into our releases. So when we talk about like just device rows, right? So this is smarter and more informative. Now every row can give you an at-a-glance context. You see the icons that indicate when a device is plugged into a switch port. You're able to actually get the instant topology cues about, drilling into the switch itself. And this makes tracing device paths quicker and actually easier. So this is a lot of which that we can get into. New counters. We've added live counters at the top. So that's going to give you like total number of your devices, how many are online, and most importantly, how many are offline. Again, is there a problem? Now we can actually get there, right? And so there's no more tallying it up or getting your calculator out or you're trying to get your Excel sheets or try to control this. We're putting this information, we're listening to you, and we're helping you to make these decisions based on data. Right? So it's literally a pulse of the network right there in real time. And it's really a command center for you to be able to use in the new devices. So for new sorting options, discovery time. Ever wanted to see like which devices were discovered most recently? Well, now you can, right? That's important. That's important from a security aspect as well, because, hey, is this supposed to be here? Is this not supposed to be here? Like, what's going on, right? Like these are things that are super handy during network changes. Because as I've always said, like I'm a network engineer from heart. If you guys don't know me, that's how I started off. I mean, I've pulled the cabling, I've done everything. And one of the things is, especially as security was coming into it, is did I know about these devices? Like when I'm discovering, having that dynamic side on the back side for a topology is one thing. But now that I have a consolidated device list and an understanding of time of discovery, now I'm actually to be like, okay, wait a minute. Was this approved? Is this supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be doing something with this device? Is this device secure? This represents questions as well as answers for your data when you're talking to your upper management or with your coworkers or with your clients, right? Like, let's make sure there's an understanding there. Let's make sure that the site deployments are correct and as expected, because how many times have we like put a discovery out there and was like, whoa, that was not expected, right? Like that's something definitely that I didn't want to do. So this is the sorting options is going to help you find solutions faster. Again, that's one of the major things that we're trying to do is listen to the problem set and providing solutions to help you get there. And then the filter enhancement. So this is where it gets a little fun. Now we can actually filter by the device type. So whether you want to isolate voice over IP phones, firewalls, cameras, it's just a click away now. We're giving you that ability within. We are also, Chris will talk about this later, we're enhancing these options and you're going to see this roll out throughout the product, not just in the device list. We're able to apply filters at once. If filter by switches and offline, find the problem devices fast, right? And yes, the filters persist. And we know that you guys have been asking for that. So we have to be able to make sure that it persists. And what does that mean? That's across the app navigation. So it's across logout, you can across the page refresh, no more redoing your work, no more trying to figure out that fantastic filter that you guys are honing in. We have that to persist. So why does this matter to you? Well, these changes may seem subtle at first glance or expected from a monitoring, but we're dramatically reducing that time to action. You're not only just looking at a list, you're interacting with the environments in real time. And that contextualized view of your network is tailored to what you're actually looking for. And so if you haven't checked out the new device list experience yet, and now is the time, right? Like if you haven't, and go and do it. If you're wanting to be in a trial, even faster, we have a faster way for you to hurry up and get on there. But the faster navigation and the richer context is just a few clicks away, and you're able to get that visibility and insight. So why this matters is, again, we're listening to the problems that are really bothering you and what you're trying to accomplish with your networks, not only as an MSP, but as core IT. So what we're trying to do is enhance these experiences and allow you to really get that health, right? Like that baseline acknowledgement of how are these networks, how are they working together, and how can I do more with them to be proactive? So that's kind of the device list and a summarization. And thank you for allowing me to give you that talk track there. And Jace, if you want to continue on.
I'm going to punt it over to Chris. You're on the clock.
Great. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about alerting best practices and some enhancements that we're working on. So, Jace, if you want to go ahead and move on to the next slide. So, alerting. So, I wanted to just touch on alerting and notifications, the way they currently work in Domotz. Staying informed and without getting overwhelmed is really key with alerts. We all know alert fatigue is real. It's something that every monitoring system is trying to deal with, that struggle to find a balance between what's relevant and actionable and what simply just amounts to some noise. We know there's no silver bullet just to tackle this problem in one fell swoop, but be assured that we hear your feedback. We've, both Destiny and I have worked on these issues before with other systems. We're working on it now in Domotz and just diligently chipping away at this issue to be able to improve your ability to manage event notifications effectively. So just want to get into what Domotz already offers today when it comes to alerts. So there's account level notifications, such as integration failures, such as the Meraki Cloud or Unify integrations that we've got. We've got configuration that backups and restore options. So being able to get notifications if there's a failure there. Custom scripts, a major part of Domotz, being able to select scripts from our library, customize those scripts, write your own scripts, apply those to your devices and to your collectors, and getting notifications when there's any failures with executing those scripts. Some other things as well that you'll get then is IP conflict notifications for those issues that you experience in your environment. So these are kind of just a few of the account level notifications that you'll get that get sent out to the account owners in your environment. Then for your network and your collector, some of the alerts that you configure is the the connection lost or recovered. Point out any site-wide outages in your environment. We automatically discover devices in your environment. So getting notifications when new devices are discovered. So a lot of times this may not be relevant, but when you've got more secure networks or an area where someone may just be able to plug something in, you want to know that that's happened. Being able to get those new discovery alert notifications. Notifications about any LAN configuration changes, security events for open ports or port forwarding, all kind of things that are pre-configured at the site and the collector level. Then moving into just some standard notifications that you can get at the device level for pre-configured metrics or monitoring. Set device status when devices go up and down. Something that you're just getting out of the box with Domotz, being able to not only see the status of the devices, but getting the notifications sent to you, especially being able to configure that for your managed devices, your important devices, or anything that you find is critical in your environment that you want to get notified of right away. Of course, for ticketing systems, being able to create tickets and auto close tickets when devices come back up as well goes along with those device status, or really for any recovery alert that you can configure in Domotz. A related status then is the heartbeat loss, but this is the 30-second availability check. So device status is really more based upon that availability not being availability for an extended period, which is kind of defaulted to 2 minutes, but something that you can configure. But the heartbeat lost, we do a availability check every 30 seconds, and you can also get notified for that, especially for critical devices. We want to know immediately if there's a device that's going offline. Other options available as well for just those out-of-the-box ones is IP changes, whether that's automatic from DHCP or manual changes that are being made to static IP addresses. And then, as I mentioned, for any configurations, changes that have been made to configurations, round trips or RTDs that you've configured thresholds for, and then any sensors like TCP or SNMP sensor notifications that you've set up in your devices. further notifications then go down into, you can, do custom or more advanced monitoring configurations for devices in your environment. So applying SNMP sensors, TCP sensors, or custom RID sensors as well, and configuring notifications on custom thresholds that you've set for those devices or interfaces in your environment as well. So then how do you actually get all these notifications? And there's some best practices for how you should go about setting up your environment to make sure that you're getting alerted on those things that you care about. One of the first places you want to start is your contact channels. So, whether it's via the mobile app, emails, messaging systems, custom webhooks, or your ticketing system integrations, make sure you start here for setting those up and are having those configured, because that's an aspect for every alert notifications where you're going to be able to select those contact channels that you want to use for those notifications. And for instance, for ticketing systems as well, like ConnectWise, you can set up the multiple integrations with different boards and auto close preferences for those recovery events. Then we've got shared alert profiles. So this is your alerting profile that you use that you can associate to collectors and devices. And one thing I want you to keep in mind is that, there's events that are for network level events or for your collector, and there's events that are for devices. So you want to set up separate profiles for your collectors or for your network, then for your devices that you then assign to those networks of devices. You want to make sure you're not assigning collector events to devices or vice versa, because nothing is going to happen in that case. So just something to keep in mind there. Also, then you've got your pre-configured SNMP and OID sensors. And this is also part of your shared alert profiles that you can get notifications for those. But then getting down into specific thresholds that you've configured, for instance, for CPU utilization or other metrics for your network or those devices, that's where your dashboards and monitoring tables come into play. So there's much more you can do with these than just display the data, but they're powerful tools for bulk operations in your alert configurations. When you create a monitoring table by selecting a pre-configured SNMP sensor, for instance, it's going to apply that SNMP sensor to all those devices in your environment and surface those metrics and list them all out in a monitoring table. You're then able to configure alert thresholds and notifications for all those metrics in these monitoring tables as well. You can do this at the device level, but you can do it more effectively across multiple devices, collectors, and interfaces in the monitoring table. And one thing that I recognize is that alerting can be a source of frustration in most any monitoring solution, and Domotz is no exception for this. We recognize that alert configurations are not always as straightforward as you might like in the system. We are working to align these across the the personal alerts, the shared alerts, and the alerts that you configure at the metric or the SNMP metric level. And just want to let you know that you be assured that your feedback is heard. Empathize with you on some of the issues that you're experiencing, and that we're working to address these via usability improvements and new feature functionality. So on that topic of usability improvements is being able to set alerts in bulk. Right now, you're having to set these individually at the collector and the device and the interface level. So if you're doing this for lots of entries, that can get really tedious. So very soon, you're going to be able to do this in bulk. Being able to set those essentially at the column level across all the devices and interfaces that are shown in the table, or filtering down to those. And it's also going to enable you to see where these alerts are actually set in your environment, so that you can also align those alerts to have them be consistent, remove alerts from devices in bulk, and being able to do that, as I mentioned, just en masse across any entry that you've got in a monitoring table. Moving on then to the next slide. Another feature that we are working on is then for event dependency, or you may know this as parent-child alerting. Why does this matter? So, managing alerts can become overwhelming, especially when you've got a core device like a switch goes offline and triggers alerts, and every connected device is then giving you notifications. So every single device behind that switch is going offline, where you're getting a separate alert for every single time, every single device that goes down, as well as when it comes up again. Ticketing systems help with this a little bit, where you've got auto close enabled that can automatically close out any tickets when a device goes back online, but you're still getting a flood of tickets created without a clear indication of what caused the issue or what device may be at the center of it all. So that makes it harder to pinpoint the root cause and resolve issues quickly. So how event dependency is going to actually help with this. So we're introducing two key models or options for handling these related alerts. The first option is to keep separate notifications, but have context as part of those notifications. So currently, you just get notifications saying that a device is down with no tie to any related device that may have caused the issue for those, or any sense of how many devices may actually be affected. So what we're working on for this first option is that each alert then includes additional context that help you establish those relationships between those devices. And in ticketing systems like ConnectWise, that we can automatically bundle the child tickets to the parent ticket. So, that's something that you're currently having to go through manually to be able to do in your environment. So actually, we're going to automatically bundle those tickets together for you. The second common use case that we hear is, I only want to get a single notification for the parent device. Don't give me all the notifications for the child or dependent devices. So just getting that one alert notification, that also then includes a summary of what are the number of dependent devices that are affected, and at least a preview list of some of the devices that are affected. It can be dozens or even potentially hundreds of devices. So at least listing out some of those devices and the notifications that are affected, and just reducing the noise of all the notifications they may be getting down to a single parent notification. So this is just making it, smarter to reduce false alerts or superfluous alerts for an issue. And another part of the feature that we're introducing is an offline notification delay for these. So basically allowing the incident to fully manifest so that we can pick up all the related child devices that are going offline and send you that notification or open those tickets to capture all of the related dependent devices. And then related to that as well is the online notification delay. So this isn't the case where you've got a device that's flapping. We've detected it's offline. Other devices are also affected. It comes back online just for a short period, goes back offline again. We want to make sure that we're not flooding you with notifications during such a time period, and that we can wait until that device is back online, is stable, and then send out those notifications that this incident now has been resolved. So as you can see there on your screen is that we're currently working or have a beta available. This is just for the ConnectWise ticketing system integration. So this is the first step we're taking. And please let us know if you're using ConnectWise and would be interested in this beta. And so what we're able to do is automatically bundle the child devices to the parent devices, or child tickets to the parent ticket in ConnectWise to automatically connect those together in your ticketing system. And then if you've got auto close enabled, we will auto close that parent ticket. One thing to keep in mind though is that is going to auto close all of the bundle tickets that you've got associated with it. So for this phase, we do recommend disabling the auto close, or you can configure auto close only on the new status tickets, but not on other status tickets. So just customizing it depending on your workflow. But that's just wanted you to comment and let you know that this is available. So if you've commented yes in the chat, we'll reach out to you about enabling this in your account. And we can do this account wide or just on certain collectors if you just want to try it out there. And then the other thing that we'd like you to comment on as well, this is currently just going to bundle tickets together, but we know there's a high demand as well for only receiving that single notification for a parent device when it goes offline and not all the child devices. So really we want to get your feedback on the understanding, the demand for this feature from users in our environment. So if you can just comment with parent in the chat so that we can capture that information from you as well, that'd be great. So really appreciate your feedback on this. And we have a Q&A at the end, so we'll be able to answer any additional questions that you may have. So now I'm going to shift gears and talk about another major feature in progress, which is RBAC, or role-based access control, that we're introducing in Domotz. So if you want to move on to the next slide, I'm going to take a quick breather. And just before I jump into RBAC, just want to talk about how access management or team management currently works in Domotz. So you've got your account owner or the team leader who has full administrative rights across your entire account. You can manage users, billing. You have access to everything at the account level, collector level, device level in your account. There's also then the ability to configure team members. So they've got some limited administrative abilities, but have access to all collectors in your environment. So just to clarify, that collector is what gets deployed out in your environment that's doing the discovery of all the devices. So if you've got access to the collector, you've got full management access to all the devices, as well as the account level settings, such as setting up those shared alerts that I talked about, also your integrations, dashboarding, everything like that as well. And then field operators, similar to a team member, but this is where you can limit access just to certain collectors. So this may be for your MSPs that you want to only allow access for your customers to certain collectors and those devices, or for your techs that are out there, they may be servicing different areas and you can assign them those collectors in their environment. So there is access management currently in Domotz, but it's fairly wide open and there's some limited controls over permissions and what you can do. So some of the areas where this falls short, you've only got one administrator or account owner. If you've got somebody else that needs to manage users in your environment or manage billing, there's not an easy way to dole that out to other people. So there's no way to delegate individual admin rights or permissions in your environment. Also, there's no ability to define more granular permissions for specific actions at the account, collector, and device level as well. It's basically, if you've got access to a collector, you get access to everything right now. And one of the highest demands that we get for access controls is a read-only view or option. So being able to have users that can see things in your environment but not make any configuration changes. Because right now it's, if you can see it, you can manage it. And that we understand that doesn't align with policies that you've got for your customers or security policies that you're needing to manage for your environment. And there's no role lifecycle management either. So you can't easily elevate someone or reduce someone's access as their responsibilities change in your environment. Right now, a role is set and there's no way to change that. So, why does this matter? For your teams that are managing sensitive environments, or MSPs that are juggling multiple clients, the lack of this granularity can become a real blocker. So we want to be able to give your support teams access to device metrics, but maybe not allow them to change any monitoring or S&P sensors that have been applied to those devices to collect those metrics, and to be able to configure alerts on those metrics. We want to be able to view it, respond to any notifications to address the problems, but not change any configurations. you may want to allow someone to view billing or subscription info, but they're not actually dealing with any device or collector level configurations. So being able to do those types of things. So restricting access to certain networks or collectors based on your team or region. And today that's just not possible without giving them broader permissions that you may not be comfortable with. So this is exactly where RBAC comes into play in your environment. So what we're doing with RBAC to address this is providing the role-based access controls. So let's just take a look then at how we're going to go about doing this and tailoring this to your environment. So as your IT environment scale, more teams become involved in your network management, and having those fine-grained controls. It's not just a convenience; it's a requirement. Any mature IT platform needs to include RBAC. It's something that is often an internal security or compliance policy that we need to make sure that we're adhering to as well. And currently, with the access management that we have in Domotz, that's just not possible. So, today's access model is too broad. And, as I mentioned, if you can view a collector, you can manage it, you can view any devices. And that just doesn't work for teams with more layered responsibilities or stricter operational boundaries. So what we are hearing from you and what you're asking for is more granular permissions for control over what users can do. Customizable roles to fit specific workflows and responsibilities, and especially read-only access for users who just need visibility without the risk of making any changes in your environment. So here's what the RBAC system is going to include. So of course, full RBAC engine with predefined roles, as well as customizable roles that you've got in your environment. So some common use cases for admins, or like we have team members right now who may need to have full access to be able to manage collectors in an environment and dole out those permissions that you've got. And then being able to have those, also this, as I mentioned, custom roles and groups tailored to your organization. So we're basically going to have a structure of users, groups, and roles. Roles are where permissions are assigned and the collector access is granted. Then you can assign those roles to groups and assign users to groups, and move users in and out of groups and move roles in and out of groups as well, in order to tailor it to your environment and to elevate permissions or to restrict permissions to certain users. And so this is going to be broken down into permissions for the administrative levels. So if you need to dole out billing to someone, but user management to someone else, adding multiple administrative roles for your environment as well, restricting account level permissions, such as being able to set up integrations, shared alerts, access to dashboards and setting up monitoring tables, your collector level permissions, for instance, being able to restrict, being able to set up VPN connections in the environment, and other collector level visibility and management in your collectors, such as configuring routed networks, or being able to specify management of devices. So this especially affects your device-based licensing, to where adding a managed device is going to be an extra cost. So you want to be able to restrict that and only allow that for certain users in your environment as well. Getting all the way down to device level permissions that you've got in your environment. There's a broad range of configurations that are available, but maybe you only want to allow certain types of configurations, or only allow remote connection, but not actually configuring any monitoring on the device. And then we're going to go further to actually get you down specifically to devices that you can configure. So based on device type, being able to dole out that, for AV devices, these are the users that are able to manage these devices, but for your network devices, you've got a different set of users, being able to manage that. And then going further, also being able to disable and re-enable user accounts, for instance. So for your onboarding, offboarding, or if a user locks himself out accidentally by invalid login attempts, being able to determine if you should enable that before the timeout occurs. And of course, then audit logging to track changes in your environment as well. So, RBAC is going to give you far more control and transparency and flexibility when managing teams in your environment. So that's kind of the goal. We've got lots of requests coming, and this is one of the major features that we're working on currently in this quarter, and is going to be available, sooner rather than later, but also something that we're going to be iterating on throughout the year. So as we introduce new features and functionality, still taking your feedback on additional functionality that we need to include and iterating through that. So finally, I want to move on to the last topic that we've got here for the webinar today. And we want to touch on a few additional planned features that we've got for the year. So one of those is topology enhancements. We recognize that our topology can be difficult to navigate sometimes. It's not the prettiest thing to look at. And there's some functionality and this information that you like to be able to surface at the topology level. So we're going to be making significant improvements to the network topology view, focusing both on functionality and usability. Our goal being to improve your mapping accuracy, visual clarity, and the overall experience of navigating your network map. So some of the improvements that we're going to be making here is, better mapping discovery and improved accuracy when devices go offline, a more simplified layout, and improved design for easier navigation. Link highlighting, additional link details, make it easier to understand the links, understand details about the links in your environment, such as the speeds and any issues occurring between devices. And categorization of the links and the connections in your environment, enhance search and filtering capabilities for the map itself to be able to, bring things to the forefront and move things to the background based upon what you're searching and filtering on, and as well as then more intuitive support for manual connections and mapping. Also, then we're going to be introducing a new Domotz box. So built on a more modern hardware platform. So this is all about improving scalability and performance and ensuring better support for larger environments and higher data volumes. Another feature that we're going to be working on is an account-wide credentials vault. So right now, Domotz securely stores credentials, but reuse and management is somewhat limited. So we're introducing a centralized vault that will enable secure account-wide storage and reuse of credentials, reduce manual configurations of efforts in your environment. So if you've got a credential that is used on multiple devices, whether that's for SNMP, SSH, or whatever, you can store that in the vault, specify where that can be used and who can manage that credential, and allow you then to be able to apply that credential where needed to devices in your environment. Ensuring, having consistent security policies for who can actually manage, apply, and supply credentials for various protocols and functions for devices in your environment, and support, the automated application of credentials across devices and protocols in your environment as well. What is going to help aid that as well is profile management or, device templates in your environment. So we're going to be working on a new profile management system that's going to allow you to store and manage device settings, including properties, credentials, monitoring configurations for devices in your environment. You'll be able to create and apply reusable profiles, automatically apply profiles to devices upon discovery, cascade any changes made to profiles down to all associated devices. So this is all going to help to significantly standardize your configurations and be able to bulk apply those changes across your environments, and being able to track where these configurations or profiles have been applied, and know anywhere that devices are out of compliance, where you've got device level overrides or potential conflicts between multiple profiles that you've applied to devices in your environment. Another area then that we're working on is custom device tags. So, this also ties into profiles and how you apply it. We currently have filtering by certain, available properties for devices in your environment. That filtering applies on the inventory table, applies to the filtering that you can do on the device lists that Destiny talked about. For your monitoring tables, it's going to be part of RBAC for, what collectors, what devices you can apply these permissions to. So we're going to be introducing custom tags to give you more flexibility and for organization for devices in your environment. We're going to be starting with just single keyword tags that you can associate with devices to classify and categorize your devices. As I mentioned, this is going to improve the filtering of those devices and grouping of the devices into your custom filters that you can save, and allow you to quickly then identify devices, their roles, priorities, environments, any type of grouping that you have is to be fully customizable and available for use in your filters. So speaking of filters then, is that we're going to be enhancing our filtering engine to make it more powerful for both the UI and the API, to include additional filter operands, such as exclusion filters, so being able to specify, that something is not, instead of currently we just have inclusion filters for everything. Along those lines, including Boolean logic, to be able to say that it's, not this and not that, or and this, being able to make more complex and advanced filtering combinations, and also including range-based filters. We recognize that trying to filter on an IP address range can be pretty difficult in Domotz right now, if you're getting to more complex filtering on IP ranges. So that's just one example of kind of ease of use filter that we'll be introducing. And just going to give you a better precision when filtering devices to target specific action, like we mentioned, for being able to apply custom tags, other properties, device type, applying profiles, applying RBAC, applying credentials, so you can kind of see a theme that we're working on things that all relate and tie into each other to improve your overall experience and provide some of that core functionality that you expect from a monitoring system. So that's just a quick look at what's ahead. So we're really excited about the direction that we're headed, and can't wait to get these features into your hands. So now just wanted to open up for questions from all of you here, and just thank you for your time that you've taken to attend this webinar today.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Destiny. I also see Destiny and Enrique, who's on our support team, answering a ton of questions in the chat. So keep them coming as well. We've got 7 minutes left. So we got some questions that came in. Maybe I don't know, we can do like a super punchy answers. We can try to cram in as many as we can in the last 7 minutes, but keep them coming in chat too. We're happy to reach out after the webinar and answer some of those as well. All right, first question I think is for you, Destiny. There's been questions about how we integrate with ConnectWise Manage. Can you speak to how that works with Domotz?
Yeah, so we have an integration for ConnectWise that allows you to do a lot, especially like with the PSA, which that comes across there. We also have some integrations that are within our integrations tab. If you go there, that can enhance that. Plus, you're able to actually create your own. A lot of people don't know that, but you do have that ability of which that you can do. But I'm also putting in here into the chat some of the integrations that the PSA ticketing has for like auto close and things like that, and setup, and how we can actually get those within there. Is that punchy? I had the weight on here.
I love it. That's great. All right, next question. Will we be able to build graphs and custom dashboards inside of Domotz?
Oh, I'll take this one too. So it's a 1-2 punch. So for the custom dashboards, we are actually working on this. So I'm on something called a Grow Tiger team. And so what that is how that visual representation of data can change and to be more accessible and solving the problems that you have. So custom dashboards. I seen somebody earlier ask something about reports, so I can address you here too. Reporting abilities, maybe if that's through integration or enhancements and things which are coming across there, are things that we are looking at in the second half of 2025.
Awesome. All right. I also want to call out Violet put, what did Violet put a comment. She's on our team too. We might not get to all your questions today. So we do have a subreddit, r/Domotz. You can ask questions there if we don't get time today. I think that's a good call out. All right, let's see. There's so many. So let's, it's how do I choose? I don't know. They're all so good. How about this one? Is there a better per room device listing coming for AV? This is important. Also, room documentation should be possible.
Yeah, I think I can take this one. So, there are some properties currently for, zone or location available. But as I mentioned with the custom tags, you'll be able to, associate that with any device and categorize those devices and then filter on them however you need. Not sure if hopefully this touches on what you mean by the question, but if not, then please include in the chat additional details to make sure that we're covering your bases.
All right. Let's see. What do we got? Do we integrate with Freshdesk?
I put a link to our integrations in there already so that we could address that one on there. There is a Freshservice, but I didn't see a Freshdesk. Oh, yeah, there is. So if you scroll down, I didn't scroll to the PSA ticketing and the link that I put in the chat for integrations, Freshdesk is available in there. And you'll also be able to see all of the ones because you'll have a lot of scrolling for all the integrations.
All right. How about this one? Can Chris or you, Destiny, speak to iPerf script integration?
Let's see. To monitor bandwidth nightly and automatically, but need to. So we need a cert that to be able to to be able to help you. And I believe, Sean, you were talking about this earlier that you can use SSH, but you can only use the actual cert within there. So the cert to be used with the scripting, I will look into that. I am not sure on that one, on if that's going to be in the beginning half of 2025. I know I have seen the ticket of which that is available for that. And I have not seen that in my roadmap, so I don't want to give you a definite answer on that, but I will circle back to that and I can get with you offline with Violet to give you a definite answer on where that is in my roadmap for integrations.
All right, Chris, I think this one's for you related to alerting. We had a few questions related to alerting, and specifically this question that came through about creating conditions as it relates to alerts. Yeah, so right now I know we've got just some pretty straightforward thresholds that you can configure for alerts. You can configure, for your SNMP metrics, multiple types of different thresholds that you're looking to get, but recognize that being able to, for instance, have severities or having different conditions to specify that only after this many occurrences those alerts should occur. So we do have that in our backlog, and we are looking to make significant improvements to alerting throughout the year and beyond. Like I mentioned, starting with the event dependency, some of the bulk alerts, aligning the alerts, and that includes then being able to have consistent ways for, as you mentioned, applying alerts. And I also saw in the chat about being able to delay alert notifications for down devices. So on the info tab for a device, there is that window that is for the device status, defaulted to 2 minutes. You can extend that window as far out as you'd like, so you don't get an immediate notification when the device goes down, and you configure that in bulk as well. But that's only for device down. So we are looking to enhance that going forward to apply that to other types of alerts or other types of metrics as well. All right, I'm going to squeeze one more in, last one, but we'll keep in mind, we're also going to host this again. So keep an eye on your inbox. We'll send another invite out for another one. And also I have seen a few people ask about the recording. So that will be distributed at the end of this webinar. Last question here. Are you planning to implement a dashboard that displays all active alerts in a single view?
Yes, this is a very common ask. Yes, this is definitely something we're planning. It's something we're considering for later this year, to be able to show everywhere that alert is configured. This ties into profiles as well, since this is one area where we'll be able to, to specify where I've got alerts, where they're applied on what devices, and be able to inform you where I've got alerts applied, as well as the status of those alerts. So, event management page along those lines, or alert management page. So have definitely heard your feedback on that, and is something that we're considering for improving the alerts as well.
All right. We'll take Destiny and Chris off the hot seat for just a little bit now. Give them a little break. Thank you all for attending. If you want more information, you can visit our website. But like I said, we're going to host this again probably next quarter. So keep an eye on your inbox. We really appreciate that you took time out of your day to be here, and we hope that it was valuable. Share any other feedback that you have with us to the format of this presentation, because we will do it again. We want it to be as relevant as possible to you. But thanks again for your time. We'll see you next time. Have a good quarter.